Well, in just a moment, we want to talk about a group of lefty protesters who met another group of lefty protesters and see what happened. But Caroline, when it comes to politics, when the left meet the left, trouble always ensues.
It absolutely does. And look, Tom Manera at the Herald Sun has written an op-ed today talking about Labor being under threat by the Greens and how they're essentially siphoning off votes that would otherwise go to Labor, but they are in fact going to the Greens. Here is what Tom had to say. The Greens blithely ignore any consequences, the $9 billion bill to abolish indexation and the chilling effect on housing supply, because they're not in a position to govern. That matters little to young people who feel, rightly in many respects, cheated by politics. The difficulty that Labor have here, though, is that they have, really pushed progressivism in schools. They've pushed it on social media. It's been enabled by Labor. But instead of these young people voting progressively in Labor, they're voting progressively in the Greens. Now, we saw Labor lose Melbourne to the Greens. At the last election, they lost Griffith to the Greens. They're holding on to McNamara by the skin off. And let's face it, when Albo and Tanya are out of Grayndler and Sydney, they'll probably end up going to the Greens as well. If the Labor was interested in self-preservation, I'd say that they would preference the Greens last for a couple of elections. We know they won't do that. I think at the 2019 elections, they won 15 seats on the back of Greens preferences, and something like 85.7% of Greens preferences go to Labor. So, they can carry on all they like about how the Greens are causing them problems, but they're well and truly in bed together, aren't they, Liz?
Yeah, and I mean, it's one thing to say, well, the Greens give their preferences to Labor, so she'll be right. But as you see, we've got this changing demographics in Australia, and we know that certainly the coalition is all but doomed, really, because the older Aussies, the wise heads, will eventually die out. And these younger voters coming through have been thoroughly brainwashed. They will forever vote left as far as I'm concerned. And if it's Greens and they don't get up, it does go to Labor, unless they do get up. And then Labor is absolutely screwed. So that is going to be the face-off in the years to come that we will see play out for many elections yet. Absolutely.
And of course, Labor preferencing the Greens drags Labor slightly further left, which then in turn drags the coalition further left, and the whole country suffers.